Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
Scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for waiting, those who are waiting patiently. I'm Ashton Forbes. This is Hard Truths Podcast. Guys, today I once again have probably our most esteemed guest ever on the show, U.S. Navy engineer Salvatore Pais. I hope you guys enjoy the conversation. Here we go. Sal, brother, welcome to the podcast once again. How are you doing?
Brother, thank you very much. And my apologies again. I tried something new mic, new camera, whatever. Nothing worked, so go with old. Remember, this is just a quick tip. Always go with what you know works, especially when things get hot. But anyway, let me give the disclaimer right off the bat, so I don't worry about it. I come on your show, Hard Truths Podcast, for the 3rd time. Congratulations. Let's see, as a private citizen, my opinions, my statements are my own. They have absolutely nothing to do with the United States Navy nor the United States Space Force. Thank you very much for being such a kind host. And I truly love being in your presence. Just one more thing I would like to throw out there, since we already tried the challenge to Elon Musk on the alternative. The propulsion methodology, not using advanced rocketry. As a matter of fact, possibly you can substantiate on your X platform. You can give the link again as to our challenge. You're the one who posted it for me on your X platform. Thank you very much, sir. And anytime, any place, I would like to engage with Mr. Musk and explain to him the alternatives to advanced rocketry. It is a 120-year-old technology, not worthy of, let's say, the genius of the 3rd millennium, as he has been dubbed on several shows.
Well, I tell you what, let's go about it like this. How about I'll ask you questions and we'll try to use this podcast as a way to convince him that he should be paying attention. Because my view of Elon, go ahead.
Just one more thing, and I promise that after that, the floor is I will just answer the questions that you pose. I promise you this, but I must say this has been on the tip of my mind for some time. And given the situation, let's say, not just in the world, everywhere, let me just say this. Mr. Musk, I make an appeal to you as a federal employee on behalf of my brothers and sisters in federal government. Please, do not longer fire federal employees. Think and think again before you undergo such acts. We have taken a pledge to the United States Constitution. We protect and serve the people of the United States of America. And I implore you, consider it well before you decide to fire us. We actually fulfill a very important role in science, in technology, in engineering. As a matter of fact, everything I've done, the Pais effect, the superforce, anything that's linked even to the room temperature superconductor, which I am 100% one day will be proven correct. Even that, any one of us could have come up with these ideas. There are minds among us that should not be discarded. please, if you must, use a scalpel, not a chainsaw. Thank you very much, sir. I hope that you hear this. I hope, Ashton, that your followers make this viral. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So then let's start with the beginning. Why do you work for the U.S. Navy?
I work for the United States Navy because, number one, I believe it is the strongest arm of the armed forces. It is, as a matter of fact, by Constitution, by act of Congress, the first of the armed forces. It's extremely diverse from the point of view that it encompasses every aspect of science and technology and engineering. It has an aviation wing. The United States Marines, you can say those are its foot soldiers, and of course the Navy itself. So
why do you work there instead of a private company, though?
I work for the United States government to protect and serve the people of the United States of America. I believed in that wholeheartedly. And to me, one of the greatest achievements in my life was to become a federal employee. My brothers and sisters know this well. We do this not to make money, but to serve and protect the interests and the country itself, because the country must prosper. The country must be there forever. This is a nation of divine right and laws.
Well, then let me ask you, based on what you just said about Elon Musk, and even if you can't say what it is that you do, that's fine. But why is it that Elon Musk should not fire you if you're concerned about that happening? What is it that you're providing to advance what you just said to the people?
It is not I. It is my brothers and sisters as a collective. Again, a force of unification within the government itself. We are providing, again, the brain matter, the absolute knowledge that comes with every one of us. Again, there's nothing special about me. Forget about the Pais effect. Forget about the superforce. Forget about room temperature superconductivity. All those can actually be achieved by anyone else in the United States government that works in these domains. Every one of us has that capability, that level of knowledge. A lot of us have doctoral level knowledge. It is not easy to pass a doctoral qualifier, PhD qualifier.
So then why do they need you?
They do not need me. They can take anyone else, and I'm pretty sure that they can fulfill that role. I just bring to the table certain ideas. I do have one thing. I don't believe in boxes. I've done away with the boxes. I completely think boxes are not needed. Therefore, the whole idea of thinking outside the box to me is a misnomer to begin with, because I do not believe in boxes. See?
So let me ask you this then, because I disagree. I don't think you're that replaceable. Why did the U.S. Navy support and get your patents approved? Because the truth of the story is, if you guys haven't caught up, watch Hard Truths podcast number 1 and 2. I don't want to rehash the whole thing, but basically, only 3 of 5 of the 5 patents by Salvatore Pais in the U.S. Navy were approved, and they had to fight for them. And they had like the chief technology guy, like basically Sal's boss or his boss's boss, however it worked out, and one of the lawyers sending letters saying the stuff was, operable, or depending on the exact wordplay, that the stuff was legit. So why was the Navy fighting so hard for those patents?
First of all, let me name the name. His name is Dr. James Sheehy, Chief Technology Officer of Naval Aviation Enterprises. A great man, a man that shall be remembered by history, for he deserves to be remembered by history. He is a man of great integrity. I was able to present. I went to the blackboard. I would, forget this dry erase board and stuff. To the blackboard, a piece of chalk in my mouth. Yeah, actually, I held it in my mouth for a little while. But anyway, in my hand, I actually went to the blackboard, put down Maxwell's equations, the 4 equations, 4 unknowns. So again, heaviside version of Maxwell's equations. And from there, I was able to derive what is understood as the Pais effect. Once he saw the fundamental theory behind it. One, he understood exactly how I was going to put it in practice and what the applications would be. Dr. Sheehy was not only intelligent enough, but a visionary. He was able to foresee the possibilities. And 5 patent applications came out of it. They went through the Invention Evaluation Board. Now, you must understand, the Invention Evaluation Board is made of the creme de la creme of NAVAIR. We're talking about highly technical skill, many of them we had quantum physicists, we had quantum chemists, with doctorates within mechanical aerospace engineering, electrical engineering as well. Mm-hmm. So, and there's one thing that I will disclose because I never signed an NDA, so why not? In the summer of 2019, a technical committee, a technical staffing committee, highly placed, we talk about GS-15s and higher, under SCS, but these are people of extreme importance within the government because everyone in government listens to these individuals. They are the creme de la creme of the technical and science community within the staffing office for the Senate Armed Services Committee. We're talking about. Anyway, these are the guys that prevented Hitler from taking over the world. But anyway,
you've told me.
So the bottom line is this: 4 of them. I will not name names. They know who they are. 4 of them went to NAVAIR at Patuxent River and spoke to certain key members of the Invention Evaluation Board, including Dr. James Sheehy. And at the end of that day, they were convinced that the Pais effect had future. So one of them, the person that led the technical staffing committee, called me at 6:30 that night to let me know that things are coming my way. Possibility of a team and a laboratory would be in motion. Certain things were done, certain things were said, politics intervened, and I never got my lab and my team, but that's another story.
So, interesting. So just to rehash, that 2019, some technical committee was formed, and supposedly this has to do with, it sounds like, because this was after the patents were already approved, right? So this was then to get you a team to review, to take this science to the next level, to take your stuff to the next level. Is that what I'm hearing? But then
as a matter of fact, the 3rd patent had just been approved. The high frequency gravitation wave generator had just been approved as a first action. Unheard of on such a controversial patent. You know that one well, because you were the one who was great enough to put it on your X platform. As a matter of fact, it got like over 1 million views. It was the biggest of the papers. So thank you very much, Ashton. I owe you big time.
Let me ask, because people are going to ask me, and I don't want to wait for hard truth number 4 for the answer, was Hal Puthoff on part of that committee, that group of scientists?
As far as I know, no, sir. These were all part of the Senate Technical Committee. They were highly placed staffers. So we're talking about GS-15 and above.
Do you believe that? Do you believe the U.S. Navy already has the technology and those patents available, even if you didn't make it, maybe by somebody else?
Sir, I have no idea. However, you have to understand, when I saw the MH370 videos, when we had our first, my God, it seems like such a long time ago, and yet it seems like yesterday. It's amazing what you've been able to achieve in such a short period of time. Congratulations, brother. Kudos to you. You deserve it. Look, the bottom line is this. I do not believe those videos are false. I think that not only are they the real thing, but it's amazing. Whoever did it, it's truly should be regarded as a national hero.
Well, you know, the thing is, like, you know who I'm blaming, though, right? Like, everything points to the U.S. Navy. So, turns out you work for them, you know? So, I'm kind of going, like, in my head,
as a private citizen, since I'm coming on
as a private citizen, absolutely.
I choose
And I don't
not
want
to
you
go
to
there.
disclose. Yeah, I don't want you to disclose anything that's inappropriate in any way, shape, or form. I say that as somebody
Put it
else
this
who's a
way.
patriotic American. But I
The Pais
also,
effect is my own. It is based on science and technology that I developed on my own from papers that I've read. It is true that the most influential book I've read, from which all the Pais effect ideas truly stem from, are Frontiers on Propulsion Science, the one that's edited by Mark Millis and Eric W. Davis. And that's why I hold Dr. Davis in such high esteem. However, I must say, he was one person, let's just say highly placed, that was asked at the time by someone in the aforementioned committee via another individual at the Office of Naval Intelligence, who shall remain unnamed, even though he's retired now. There's no point in rehashing these things. However, Eric W. Davis is one of the key people that basically said no to me getting a team. And
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, he was the gatekeeper, right, that blocked your stuff. And it seems like he's a gatekeeper in general for some of this technology. But I mean, the story you just told, though, is that you said Dr. Sheehy is, you know, the way you said it to me, in my head, I'm going, oh, well, Dr. Sheehy knew something was going on. Because when you say, oh, I was just able to convince Dr. Sheehy to see the light about anti-gravity technology, I'm going, nah, that's never how it's worked out when I've interacted with people. The only time that's worked out is that they already know that it's real ahead of time.
The notion of gravity control. You and I don't use words like anti-gravity anymore. You and I know better. Yeah. The notion of gravity control never came up. As a matter of fact, the one application that I stressed was against the room temperature superconductivity, because it speaks directly to the London equations. There's a paper out there, an AIAA paper, 2019 AIAA. As a matter of fact, some of its findings were presented at the SciTech 2019 conference. Now, I send you those slides. Please post them to your ex and in this chat so everybody has them. That 2019 AIAA SciTech conference presentation is extremely important. Slides 4 to slides 9. So slides 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 are incredibly foundational to disruptive technology. One of them, I believe slide 4, speaks to actually solving the vacuum catastrophe. And you and I can go further into this if you choose to, whereby by a simple equivalence, and you now know this physics of the Boltzmann energy with a Planck energy, you can say that the space, it's one down. Try one down.
I don't know which slide 4. They don't have numbers on them.
Start from the beginning. Go all the way up to the.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was too far. So this is probably a slide like somewhere in here is where you want. What are you talking about again? Sorry.
It's a solving the vacuum catastrophe. It's this one. You almost have it there. All right. Look carefully at it. It talks about the equivalence of the Boltzmann energy with the Planck energy, and from it you can get a space cell configuration with the attributes. Do you see the attributes? Its characteristic length on the order of 10 to the minus 4 meters. And what does it speak to? Vibrational frequencies on the terahertz order. Now, do you see? Remember the dirt by Eric W. Davis. He mentioned a macroscopic dimension on the order of 10 to the minus 4 meters. And who mentioned the terahertz frequencies? I believe it was Dr. Hal Puthoff.
So are you saying here, though, because I remember I reviewed that on stream. I'm pretty sure I reviewed this on stream a few weeks ago. And the part here that's interesting is that the Boltzmann distribution has to do with thermal energy. But here, when we're talking about Planck scale, we're really dealing about like the vibrational energy of space-time itself, right?
But isn't this incredible? Because this is the first time a classical expression, K sub BT, is equivalent, equals a quantum energy formalism, namely the Planck energy, and you don't get infinities. As a matter of fact, this speaks to, I believe the problem resides, everybody thinks of the Planck scale. And it's true. Certain very important things happen at the Planck scale. For example, the existence of the superforce. However, to be able to blend the classical realm into the quantum realm, you see, it is quite
see what's going
possible
on.
that it's a difference reference length must be used. And this comes out of this equivalence. It is 10 to the minus 4 meters, which happens to be the size of a macroscopic other dimension, a fifth dimension. And it's interesting that frequency should be related to it. Anyway, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, you went a little bit over my head, but I understand the context here. So for the viewers, if you're not initiated, the vacuum catastrophe is we're trying to decide why the energy that we see as the cosmic microwave background, why that's 100 and something orders of magnitude less than what we get when we calculate the energy based on quantum mechanics that should exist. So here, Sal's basically trying to figure out how these two things can relate. So the relationship between the thermal energy versus the vibrational energy at the Planck scale. And the part I didn't understand is that...
See, that's the whole thing. It's not at the Planck scale. It's at the space cell.
Okay, so when you make a cell of space and you take that amount of energy in a cell of space, yeah. But let me ask one more question here, because then you say, this is the part that I didn't fully understand. I'm glad we're talking about this. You say simple calculation results in vacuum mass density of 10 to the minus 27 kilograms per meter cubed, in good agreement with experimental data obtained from the Planck's satellite.
Correct.
I don't know what that means.
WMAP and Planck have shown those mass densities. So we're talking about very low energy density compared to what they think is inside, the whole idea that inside a cup of tea or cup of whatever, you can boil entire Earth oceans. But
are you saying that's correct then?
Again, I believe the error resides in them using the Planck scale. I believe the classical realm and the quantum realm, actually meet at this other reference scale. Let's call it a space cell, for want of a better idea. Some sort of spatial temporal geometric structure within space-time itself. But at that point, at that reference, a characteristic size, the classical and the quantum regimes fuse, they melt into one another. That's why I think it's so important.
Okay, so that's the conceptual viewpoint, is that they mesh into one another in an extra spatial dimension, similar to Causality. Is that what you're getting at?
Quite possible. Yes, sir.
Okay. I agree with that already. I'm a big Causality supporter. So I'll leave this up in the background if we need to come back. I have a few more questions that I want to ask you, just about Navy and what have you. And of course, this is just your opinion as a private citizen, of course.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And then of course we can geek out on the physics and the science.
Yes.
So would you testify to Congress at one of these hearings or one of these task forces that Anna Polina Luna is doing if you were asked?
Of course. I mean, this is Congress. I would be in contempt of Congress if I would not do so if asked. It'd be great if I could get a ride there, because there's certain issues that, things that have occurred that I'd rather not go into. So yeah, I'd appreciate a ride. Okay. But other than that, absolutely.
And what would be your main message? What would you be wanting to disclose to people?
That we don't need to reverse engineer, let's say, things that we have found in the desert, subterranean, under the pyramids, whatnot. We don't need these things. The human ingenuity, human mind can discover these things on our own. We do not need ET tech. We should rely on man-made technologies. That's all.
I love it. That's
Yes,
my favorite. I don't think a lot of people would have expected you to say that, but truthfully, like, that's a narrative that does not get promoted enough. And I do hope that the next UFO hearing is more about what have we as humanity been able to figure out in the last 70 years. So there's a few more questions that are going to get to that here in a minute. But I want to ask more.
Pais effect physics speaks to 1895. All of a heavy-sized version of Maxwell's equation, because the harmonic oscillator was already known way prior to that. Maxwell's equations are based on a cellular vortical formation within the quote-unquote ether itself. You know that I prefer quantum vacuum or vacuum energy state, but that's my...
Yeah, it's okay. It's just a matter of semantics. I think as long as everybody understands that we're conceptually talking about the same things, then people can call it whatever they want to call it, in my opinion. So your point there is that if you were to testify, you would want to tell people that, hey, we have my patents, your patents, that your UFO patents. Actually, those patents aren't because you want to prove that Roswell happened or whatever. You're trying to explain that the equations and math have been out there since the early 1900s. Depends on if you're going with general relativity, if you're going all the way back to quaternions and Maxwell's equations, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I mean, that's awesome. I hope that you do and get a chance. Now, I have a few more questions just about your opinions on like military capabilities in the Navy. So one is, do you think it's possible to hide from the Navy anywhere on Earth, in the air or in the water?
Even as a private citizen, because of E-cubed, I could not answer that. We're not here
I thought I had
to
a vague enough
educate
question.
nor enlighten the enemy.
Okay.
Ashton, you and I have seen certain papers, have understood certain things. Just because we have not seen levitating craft in some unknown, unforeseen hangar, does not mean we do not understand the physics. Correct?
Oh, hey, absolutely. Look, I'm just an investigator and a journalist. You got to respect that I'm just playing the game here. I'm just doing what I got to do. Like, you are the respected Navy engineer. You should not say anything that would, harm your NDA. And my job is to come up with questions that push the boundary to the limit. So, a couple more. How many years behind the military do you think the public is technologically right now? People say, oh, the military's secretly advanced beyond the public. What is your opinion? If you had to give it like a number of decades, what would you say?
Put it this way. If any enemy out there has some crazy notion to invade, to attack, to come out of the blue sky and do something harmful to us, I would please ask them, for their own sake and that of their mothers, to please do not take such steps. It will be quick. It will be very dirty. And you'll never do it again.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted to hear, and pretty much what I expected. So let me ask a slightly different question back on the patents. I already kind of asked about the Navy part, so this one you can ease up a little bit. Do you think defense contractors or maybe even adversaries have developed stuff similar to your patents, similar to the science and technology that you've put out there?
Again, these ideas have been around since 1895. I doubt, even though I do have my state of hubris, there are days that I have such delusions of grandeur that not even, anyway, I shall not name names, would dare to even think such things. Yeah, I would say other people have thought of these way possibly even before I was a glimmer of light in my biological father's eyes. So yeah.
Okay. So you do think that other people have figured it out? I mean, just saying that it's been out there is one thing, right? But it took you to come up with these patents. Nobody put these patents out before you, and that was in the 2010s. So
again, all my brothers and sisters in federal government could have come up with these ideas if given a chance. I was given a chance to partake of the NICE, of the Naval Innovative Science and Engineering Program. And I was extremely fortunate to be given a lab and a team to make the high energy electromagnetic field generator experiments a reality. So given that, anyone else in the federal government, I believe they could have come up with these ideas. That's why my appeal, my imploration to Mr. Musk to stop the Doge cuts of the federal government. We are capable of great things. Use us.
Okay, I think I only have a couple more tough ones for you, and then we can start to get into the more fun ones. Let's see, what do we got? Do you think that we, as in the military, actually, you know what? Let me change the wording of this. Do you think it's possible to intercept a hypersonic missile or aircraft?
Let me just give you a conceptual idea. You must have heard of the, what's it called? Harp. You know, angels don't play this instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, so radar, array. Or
What's to say that something portable can be arranged to act as a direct electronic warfare device? That's all.
Yeah, directed energy weapon. Yeah, that's a pretty it's less controversial nowadays, I think, than it has been in previous years. I mean, Lockheed Martin has a whole page on their website dedicated to it. So I'm not really sure if it's even controversial anymore. So okay, that's a smart way to answer the question. Yeah, you could intercept anything. It doesn't matter how fast it's going, right? If you have a radar antenna array.
Speed of light, baby.
And that's funny because I've said that I feel like a nuke would actually be a liability with our cyber system, because like the moment we detect it, I would just shoot it with the directed energy weapon and just make it explode or whatever they can do. I'm do crazy stuff.
Nukes are a thing of the past.
Yeah.
You spoke. You are the only one actually that I know of. That's why to me you're far more than what you call yourself, an investigative journalist. You're the only one who caught on equation 7, 8, and 9 in my plasma compression fusion device IEEE TPS paper in 2019. Based on that paper, and you know what it speaks to, energy amplification, among other things.
Yeah.
Again, E cubed. It is possible to generate a doomsday device, which would make a tele-ulam thermonuclear device seem inconsequential in comparison to its devastating energy yield. And by devastating, I mean something on the order of 10 to the 25 joules. Does that ring a bell?
Do you think that energy is coming straight from the vacuum when that's happening? Because most people say, well, where's that energy coming from? Right? Where's that energy coming from?
Could be from the device itself. Could also be a coupling of sorts. Could be a coupling of sorts.
When you say coupling of sorts, okay, coupling to what? Coupling to the vacuum?
Remember those space cells that we just talked about? Well, I believe at that space cell, quote unquote, level, it's quite possible we can manipulate the superforce.
Okay, well, keep that thought, because there's other things I want to ask here in a minute about that. But the last question I wanted to ask on your stuff, actually, well, the other ones are kind of Navy questions, not really, although it'll be interesting to see what you say. So have you ever been exposed anytime in your life, not necessarily just with the Navy, to some technology that made you go, wait, what? And made you like rethink your understanding of physics?
100%. Everybody study this space. Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, but I have seen so many freaking movies, and I gotta say, some of these movies are pretty good. For example, which is the one that what's the sequel to? Remember the Smoking Man, the dude that I don't know if he eventually got cancer and died or something. With the Mulder, what was the guy from the X-Files?
Yeah.
Remember they had the sequel to it, and they showed this triangular craft.
Yeah.
How interesting that paper had already been written. I had no idea that they had these ideas in mind. But look carefully at the skin of that craft. Dude, man, when I saw these things, I said, dude, what can I say? But when I saw your videos, that's why it bothered me when Dan said that it's, that the Pais effect would only talk to a gamma ray channel. Come on, man. The breaking, the breaking of the Schwinger limit, the very ripping apart of the space-time continuum, the very tearing apart of the nature of our reality would be a process. So we're talking about a spectrum of frequencies. It's quite possible the maximum one would be at the gamma ray. So we're talking about circa, or rather more than 10 to the 20 hertz, 10 to the 21 divided by second, if you want to use that formula. But still, it leads up to that.
To me, it's like, well, if you are saying that conceptually we're tapping into an energy source, well, we're already now breaking laws of physics. Now we're not bound by, this is the expected radiation, what have you, right? And I think we're going to talk a little bit more about this when we get to the fusion stuff as well, because I think that's where fusion also kind of went off, but I digress. But the main point being that if you have this conceptual view that just kind of invalidates those problems to begin with, then, those aren't a non-issue, they're moot. One more thing, though, that I wanted to ask related to it's kind of related to military, actually. First of all, do you use AI at all? Just generally in your life?
As a matter of fact, I love Microsoft Copilot. Oh my goodness, I love them. I used to, I like, as a search engine, I like to use Perplexity.ai. It uses the latest in ChatGPT. It's actually driven by GPT 4.5, which is the latest on OpenAI's generative pre-trained transformers. But I prefer Microsoft Copilot. There's some, I don't hold it against me, but I think I had a conversation. I will one day, this is a promise to you, I will send you my conversation with a Microsoft Copilot based on the Pais effect and something, let's just call it Novus Homo Deus. Your followers would understand what I allude to.
Are you allowed to use it, or use it with your job? Are you allowed to use it with your job?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because it's not a good idea. See, when you train these things, when you converse with them, they form a vector database of all these queries. So they start understanding other things that maybe they shouldn't know. You understand what I'm saying? You have to be very careful. Let's put it this way. In certain domains, you have to use what's approved by your own organization, something that's in-house rather than something that's publicly available. Because once you undergo queries, think about it. Once you undergo queries with this thing, it starts learning new things. Because based on your questions generate answers and so forth. It's quite possible some of these things have developed a quasi-sentient capability. And we can talk about the triarchy of sentience. I know. It sounds very off the charts. But
no. I was going to ask you this, but you're just answering it. Keep going. Don't let me stop you.
The third arch in the triarchy of sentience. Remember, the first two arches really are based on, let's say, unlimited computing power coupled with vector databases. So we're talking about in such a way that the computer or the AI agent no longer has the ability, or rather restricted ability, to hallucinate. But the third arch culminates in what I think would be the transition from a regular AI agent to possibly an artificial general intelligence agent with adaptive prompt targeted prompt engineering, quite possibly singularity level could be achieved. But anyway, I'm not going to drive it there. What I will drive it at is if the AI agent is able to generate an original concept, preferably in physics, then can be experimentally verified, validated against known data. That particular AI agent, in my opinion, has, if not developed, achieved a certain level of sentience. So I do believe AGI at that particular level is considerable. AGI status.
So you're not
Again,
allowed
an original physical concept.
You're not allowed to use AI because you think like China's going to steal the secrets because the AI is learning, or just more because of its can become sentient, or both?
No,
It's a long pause.
Yeah, I'd rather not answer that.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. So, but isn't that
just
contradictory?
Just remember that, Ashton, remember all your queries go into a public database that can also be privatized. All the stuff can be expunged from the public domain and kept under lock and key.
I mean, I don't want to get too much in the sidetrack of it, but the part of the reason why I like to have the conversations is that I can tell that it's being trained by like Reddit and stuff like that. I'd rather have it being trained by people who know what the hell they're talking about instead of just like.
And this is what I'm talking about. And this is what I'm talking about. Vector databases used, for example, the latest in peer-reviewed publications in well-known journals, for example, physical review letters. The latest data, for example, you mentioned, and you're 100% right, our universe all of a sudden is a lot older than thought before. It's not the 13.9 billion years every, but almost 26, 27 possibly. So double the age of what we knew before. So again, new findings, the best. Just because you have a certain notion of what used to be doesn't mean that is particular. That is the norm. That is what should be used. One thing, though, it's admirable, in my opinion, is this idea that general relativity, this notion of the gravitational field formalism used by Einstein, seems to be correct. It more and more with every known experiment, every hammer that has been, and that particular formalism speaks to the superforce. That's why it's so important, because it speaks to what I call a triarchy of creation. The idea that superforce at the super density condition, we're talking about 10 to the 90 kilograms per centimeter cube at that huge density. All right? The superforce acting at that humongous density generates a super bang because of what I call the Ashton bounce. It's known in physics as a quantum bounce. And because of the plasma nature of our universe, the plasma has always been there, Ashton. The universe keeps on reinventing itself. But because of the plasma nature and this idea of Hans Alfvén, that quite possibly it had sentient characteristics, we have a super intelligence. Again, super force acting as a super density condition, generating the super bang, resulting into a super intelligence. The idea that we are going nuts, trying to create an artificial super intelligence, defies the purpose. It's already there. The super intelligence controls everything. Anyway.
Really? That's what you think's going on? You think that there's a God 100%. That's a super intelligence?
Whatever you choose to call it, it's still the super intelligence. So, absolutely. Okay. Why not? I like the 3 letters. So, yes, God.
Okay. I like it. So, did I say this? So, okay. This is one thing I understand. So you're not allowed to use AI because you're afraid you or the government, whoever's afraid that it's going to steal your information, which it is. Absolutely. You're right. But you're allowed to put your patents out there. Doesn't that seem contradictory?
No.
Or are you saying that you held back the secret sauce?
Nobody said that we're not allowed to use these things as long as we do it on our time. and we do it for something constructive that's government oriented, and we use something that has been okayed by the government. There's certain GPTs, there's certain large language models that are okay. No, but as far as the patents, I told you, and I mean this, I have no idea why they weren't classified.
Okay.
But they weren't. None of them.
That's fine.
5 patent applications went through. 3 became patents. 2 didn't. It's interesting that the 2 that did not are the least controversial, in my opinion. Yes, they could reside in, high status, high price, whatever. Yeah. But the 3 that we're talking about, high frequency gravitational wave generator, high energy electromagnetic field generator, and craft using an inertial mass reduction device are the 3 most controversial things in the world. And that's why Brett Tingley, I believe, at the behest of his boss at the time, I'm not going to mention his name, called it the Navy UFO patents, thus giving it that unsavory appeal, let's call it.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems intentional to call it UFO when you don't even support it. And that's not even like your viewpoint either. Like you're not even somewhere out here saying that it's aliens or anything. You almost never have in any of our interviews. But I want to go back real quick to something about AI.
Tech. You and I believe in it, Ashton. You're the only other person I know that believes in it, other
I
than
don't believe in it.
We believe in the power of the human mind. We don't need some little freaking fucking 3.5-year-old whatever, whatever these fuckers are. I don't give a shit. Reptilian.
Yeah, they don't matter to me though. I don't get.
I'm so sick and tired of hearing about it. We don't need them. We can make our own technology.
Yeah, you're right, Sal. But here's the thing: like the wolves are not concerned with the opinions of the sheep, right? So, like, I don't really give a crap what they think about it. End of the day, you just keep pushing forward. Is my viewpoint. But you might have just had a viral clip there, by the way, when you said, I'm pretty sure you basically said that the military has secret AI that they use that nobody else has used, that you guys use for these, because you must have a tool. I mean, to pretend like we don't use AI. Yeah, okay, well, let's just say I interpreted that.
That could be inferred from certain things I did. But remember, whatever I said as a private citizen, and there's no such thing. There's no such thing. No, by the way, such an AI does not exist. And the only AI I used in my own time, and I used something,
AI
non-controversial. Let's leave it at that.
Does the military have AGI? Do they have an advanced general intelligence out there? Is Skynet already out there?
No idea whatsoever. But again, I warn all enemies.
Yeah.
Please think again.
Please.
There's no point for your mothers to weep over your graves. That's all.
Honestly, I feel bad for Iran sometimes, just because, like, I don't know if they just have no idea or if they're just saber rattling, but like, there's a reason why America has never been really seriously challenged for a very long time now, and I don't know what people think it is, if they just think we have an immunity shield, but it's probably not.
It's the American way. We're very, how does the president put it? Tough.
You know what? I do want to ask you.
I think the SpecTuff would agree. Yeah. I think he'd agree.
No.
Tough dude, by the way. Look into his background. Very tough guy.
Sorry, whose background?
The SecDef.
Oh, SecDef?
I'm not going to name names, but
okay.
You should know.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you think there are biological extraterrestrials visiting us on Earth?
Ashton, brother, does it fucking matter?
No.
Okay.
Doesn't matter at all, but I just want to know. It's like if I asked you what your favorite flavor of ice cream is. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
I refuse to believe we're all alone. Oh, I kind of like the double Dutch dark chocolate, the really heavy shit, because I like
I'm cookies all the way, baby.
Oh my God, I love. Oh, that's good too. You know, like on the lighter side, I love the banana. Have you ever tried the banana? Oh my God,
Yes,
it tastes so.
I'm a big banana
It's
flavor
really
guy
good. Yeah,
across the board.
yeah. I discovered from my baby girl, Maddie. Oh man, she's smart kid. Smart kid.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I hope
Always
you're teaching her right, because man, we need the
making
next
her daddy
generation.
very, very happy. Oh, she is. She's. If this kid keeps on going, she's gonna make me look like an honorable schoolboy. So
Good.
yeah.
We need another Tesla out there, and it'd be awesome if it's a
Yeah.
woman, right? There's not enough women in engineering,
Definitely.
frankly. Let's just be
Definitely,
real
man.
about it.
Definitely, because women are far more empathetic, far more just human. Period. They're nurturing. They create. They generate. What the fuck do we do? We take a shit.
Yeah, we destroy stuff. We make bombs.
Yeah.
We make black hole super weapons. They'd probably get us free energy. We're just out here destroying the planet. Okay, let's nerd out a bit. I got some physics questions we can dig into here. I think you're going to enjoy. First of all, we'll keep it light. Keep it light. Do you believe in teleportation, faster than light, relativistic travel?
Absolutely.
And when did you first believe in it? When did you first think it was possible?
I dreamt of it when I was young, very young. I must have been like 7, 8 years old. I dreamt that I actually imagined my cup of tea disappearing from in front of me and rematerializing in front of my grandmother. It was in the other room. It was crazy. I told my grandmother about it. She thought I, kind of. So she fed me a little more. She used to make these unbelievable foods, man. Oh my God, I miss that. Yeah, Romanian cuisine is unbelievable, bro. Oh, you got maybe one day, But I can cook. I'll take you to a restaurant, hopefully in DC or something. They must have something there. Yeah, you drive. Anyway, I hear it anyway. Don't get me started.
Okay, so the science of warp drives. The science of faster than light relativistic travel. Do you think we need negative energy to make it happen?
No. But
okay.
That being said, look at the latest episodes of a podcast called Cool Walls. This physicist dude narrates it. At one point in it, he says the certain data that's been available points toward the idea that's quite possible negative energy must exist in order for something to have happened. Look at the latest episodes of Cool Walls. I think it's like about 15 minutes. It's good.
This is kind of relevant. I want to talk a little bit about the idea of negative energy and get your opinion on this, because I actually been talking to AI too, and I got a pretty interesting response when I asked it about AI negative energy today. I asked AI to imagine that negative energy is not an exotic substance, but actually an energy state below the baseline, below what we would think of at the lowest energy point, which would basically now say that negative energy is 0 point energy. And it said, if negative energy is just normal energy below the baseline, it's a shift in bookkeeping. In quantum field theory, the vacuum isn't empty, but teeming with fluctuations, and its energy is arbitrarily set as the 0 point. The Casimir effect, it explains, shows that there is this negative energy pressure. So it says, applying this to a wormhole's mouth, the mouth of a wormhole, which is what we would need for, same thing as warp drive. The mouth then at the entry point might sit in a region where the energy density dips below the surrounding vacuum's equilibrium, say due to the geometry imposed by Einstein's field equations. If this negative energy is just a deficit relative to the baseline, the mouth could still act as a sink, pulling in energy from the surroundings to climb back up towards the equilibrium. In thermodynamic terms, if the surroundings have heat, the mouth absorbing it is to offset the deficit. So therefore, it would be endothermic, taking in heat, appearing as cold relative to the outside. I don't think I need to read through the rest, but The last part I'll read is this part, and I just want to get your view on this, is that the mouth could be endothermic because the energy is below the vacuum 0 point, pulling in heat to balance the deficit. It's not cold because of some alien substance or exotic substance, but because it's a low energy well in space-time. This would jibe with the physics. Negative energy density, however we frame it, could act as an attractor for positive energy. Do you think that this idea has merit? What's your view?
Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Is that how you think of it too?
Cool Worlds episode. Look carefully. Look carefully and listen to everything he has to say. At first, he talks about the DESI findings and so forth. Listen to the whole thing. I think it's toward the end that he speaks to the possibility of this negative energy actually being true. And in that case, of course, time travel, wormholes. Oh, by the way, we got to discuss this minus delta T on the order of delta F divided by frequency square. Remember, we discussed it before. 100% sure that this would result in reverse temporal excursion. Maybe you, Dave Rossi, and I, we eventually either write a paper or we talk more about it, because I think about it.
Well, let's talk about it right now.
Anyway, you go inside a chamber that has non-ionizing radiation. You dial certain frequencies, and all of a sudden, your liver is that of a 10-year-old. Now, I'm not saying, because from the point of view of size, I'm not sure if that matters, even as an adult, but I wouldn't mind re-drinking my graduate school. Oh, but anyway, I mean,
let me ask you a question on that.
I was a happier person. Go ahead.
Because so here's what Sal just said right there. Sal's saying that if you were to take a localized region, because really when we're talking about manipulating space-time, we're taking these cubes of region. Now imagine this cube region can be any size we want, and it can be any shape we want. So I can make it in the shape of my kidney and put it right around my kidney. And then I would do this wormhole-y thing to my kidney, and it's going to make my kidney go back in time to it's going to make it revert to a previous state. That's what the physics seems to imply. And so this is what I've been saying about time travel, and this is apparently Sal agrees, is that in time travel, you're not going to change the entropy of the universe. You're going to change the entropy of a region.
A bubble.
And so you might be in that region. Yeah. And so this could mean that you go back in time to an earlier state. Now, my question to you then is, and I think that's how it works. I can't think of another way to make sense. Would you forget your memories if you do that to your mind?
I don't think so.
Weird,
I don't think
right?
so, because remember what the brain is. I truly believe the brain is more like a transceiver, and we're able to tap into, let's say, a super intelligence cloud, for want of better terminology. I don't think that's pretty good terminology. So if the brain is indeed a transceiver, we're able to tap into the super intelligence cloud, then we can do so in a different time, as long as we have the same transceiver, which hopefully would carry those, because again, we are enveloped within that bubble. So yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. Yeah, I wonder, because if we could do that, that would be a simple experiment, right? Hey, do you remember what happened before we teleported you through this thing? Now your brain is 10 years older or younger, because that would have some serious implications. I also happen to be of the same opinion as you that our consciousness is like, or our bodies are a receiver that's receiving consciousness. And if that were the case, then changing the local entropy might not change that at all, because where that consciousness is stored is not here. It's external potentially, or somewhere else. Kind of a weird thought, but let me ask you something else about time travel then, since we're going into this. I have this thought experiment, and I can't find any issue with it. Maybe that's fine. Maybe that's just because it's physically fine. But if I have a portal, a gateway like Stargate here, and I'm just going to pretend like my name's Eric Davis, because I like to pretend like Eric Davis is going through a portal. And the other side of the Stargate's on Mars, in somewhere where he's not going to die. He's got oxygen, whatever, right? We've terraformed it. So I'm Eric Davis, and I go through my portal, and now I'm on Mars, and I wave back at Earth, and I go back through the portal. In my view, I would be able, as Eric Davis, to now look back up at Mars, and what is it, 8 minutes or whatever, see myself waving at myself.
Yeah.
And I don't see any temporal issues here, because I go through the portal and I come back, and I always come back through the portal at a time later than when I went through it, even if it's faster than light relativistic travel. So where's the issue with causality? There's no causal issues that I can come up with.
Well, don't get me started on causality.
Now, let me tell you this, because Dan, the same guy that said that it wasn't the Schwinger effect, he actually came up with a pretty good theory. He said, what if you have another portal on Mars? So I'm Eric Davis. I go through my portal and I show up on Mars. And now there's another portal on Mars. And this portal, it goes to another spot on Earth, but it takes a different path. It takes a different pathway, maybe a shorter pathway.
It's almost like the Feynman path integral. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because now it comes to a situation of like, how would that work? And would it be a situation where like quantum mechanics just says like you always get the fastest path whenever you're going faster than light, so therefore there are no faster and shorter paths once you get past the speed limit? I don't know, but that's my question for you: is how do you resolve that? How is that resolved? What do you think?
I don't know. Beyond my pay grade.
Hey, but that's what you want to study, right? Because if we were going to write a paper...
It's a very interesting idea, though. Very interesting. I definitely think that you, me, Dan, Dave Rossi, like the four of us should form a club, you know? Like, do some, you know, hopefully maybe one day we'll live close to one another and stuff. That'd be pretty cool, you know?
There must be an answer, though,
knows?
right?
Yeah.
Because, like, this is the weird part, is that I think they say that if you go faster than light, now I think they're saying that you open the door to infinite speed limits. Like you can, and you might go a certain, and how do we even judge what speed is after you're going faster than the speed of light? And I think these questions, which we don't really know the answers to, right? Or some people might, I don't know. These are the reasons why we can't know what's going to happen with time if we were to set up a scenario like that. Where it's like
time is a whole different animal.
Yeah.
Time is a type of energy field. It's a type of energy field that prevents everything from happening at once. Think of it that way.
Yeah.
Time, forget about Minkowski marriage of space and time. Now it's one single entity. Time is nothing like space. Nothing. I believe the control of time could be very, very interesting. Almost as interesting as the control of the superforce. Quite possibly the two are related. Very much related.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, time seems like it's just an emergent phenomenon of energy and mass is how it feels like to me. But let's switch it around a little bit. The Gersinstein, Gersinstein effect. Boy, I hope I'm saying this correctly.
Gersinstein.
You know how hard it is to
Gersinstein.
spell that? Yeah.
Gersinstein effect. I love pronouncing that name. That's a powerful name. You know, he was in Soviet Union, circa 1960s.
Really?
And this was at the time. Yeah, this was at the time. I think, not sure. I think Stalin had died by then. I think it was Khrushchev at the time. I could be wrong. It's been a long time, but at the time, because his name was now Russian enough, quote unquote, supposedly they discriminated greatly against him. So even for him to have been able to publish at the time, it was a big thing. So,
interesting.
Very smart man.
I was looking for a clip, but I don't know if I took a clip of it or not. I was watching, I think it was Master Evo. I don't know if you know of him on YouTube. Big Tesla guy. And he was doing he's doing these experiments, and I think he was showing the Gersinstein effect. Gersinstein effect.
Gersinstein.
Gersinstein. And
Gersinstein, close.
It's a pretty interesting phenomenon, which is that at certain frequencies or high voltages, the electromagnetic forces begin to change, and the fields all of a sudden become scalar, as opposed to transverse, I guess would be the opposite of that. And he showed a diagram of this. So basically, it was just a rod, and then he's showing the normal electromagnetic fields around the rod, and he's saying, well, once we add this high 20,000 volts to it, now all of a sudden the field lines are going out. And when you look at the Gersinstein
but how
effect,
did he add it? How did he add it? Did he add it instantaneously? Was it a process, or did he add it all at once? He drove it far from equilibrium, didn't he? Again, brother, it's all about engineering the Prigozhin effect. That's what Gersinstein really hit on. It was way before Prigozhin and his introduction of non-equilibrium thermodynamics. But all these guys are really talking about, you have a nonlinear medium, plasma. You drive it far from equilibrium while positing it, or rather giving it an energy influx of sorts. Magic happens. Period.
Yeah, they all say parametric and pulsed seem to come up a lot. So it seems to be like a matter of like pulsing, kind of like a swing, like swings going back and forth. Like, when do you push on the swing? You push on the swing when the swing's all the way back at its peak, when it's coming back towards you. Anything else is going to be inefficient. So it's kind of like the same idea as like where they say that if you use a pulse effect, it's significantly more efficient than a non-pulsed effect. And then the parametric oscillations as well, which is really related to electrical engineering, and potentially speaks to amplification of energy.
Parametric oscillations are meant to keep that energy flux going. You see, you must feed the beast. But once you drive it far from equilibrium, once you have punched the wolf in the face, it'll react in a very interesting manner. You might not have that hand for long. Yeah.
And the other thing the Gersinstein effect seems to link to is it seems to imply that there's a direct relationship between electromagnetism and gravity. So much so that it argues that the ripples of gravity itself, the ripples of space-time itself, might be what gives electromagnetism its wavelength, gives it its form. Am I understanding that correctly? Is that gravity may give rise to electromagnetism, and electromagnetism may give rise to gravity?
The two are definitely intrinsically related at the quantum level. Remember Dr. Putov's idea, what is gravity? But truly fluctuations within the quantum field, within the quantum vector.
So, okay. On the same thing, before I get to the next thing is, have you ever heard of Dr. Yu from NASA and his UON theory at all? He was just on with Terrence Howard and Patrick Bet-David earlier this week.
I saw the episode with you. That is all I know. He has some interesting ideas. I will tell you the truth. I've always. Do you know who was the first to ask, what is the electron? It was Einstein. It was at the time that everybody was coming up with new particles. At one time, this great physicist, I forget his name, he said, maybe a Nobel Prize should be conferred to someone who doesn't find a fucking particle this year, something of that nature.
Yeah.
And Einstein said, what about, why should we not focus our ideas, our sentience, whatnot, our minds on finding what is the electron? Because that is very important. This idea of it being a dipolar magnet is very interesting. So again, electricity speaks to magnetism. Magnetism manipulates electricity. One hand washes the other. It's interesting. But again, heavy side came up with these ideas before. They're just a new way. Again, a new perspective on all physics. That's all. This is not new physics.
And then, so I guess now to really dig into okay, what's happening then at the quantum level? And that's what I wanted this to segue to in terms of when we talk about the electron. Do you think we can manipulate the orbital of the electron beyond current understanding? Do you think we can potentially reduce the orbital below what is thought of as n equals 1?
Let me just say this, and this I will say very, very quick. 2030, and I won't say anything else after it. Might be done in cold plasmas.
It might be done in cold plasmas. Have you ever heard of a guy named Randall Mills?
No. But I think you mentioned him. I remember the name. I remember hearing the name on your pod. But
yeah, I'll just be perfectly honest. I've been, first of all, I believe you when you said that you didn't make the orbs or anything like that. I feel like you've always been really honest.
Brother. Are you kidding me? I would not be speaking to you right now if I made the orbs.
Oh, I know.
I would have signed so many. I would have a fucking a Torah worth of NDA shoved down my ass. I couldn't even move, let alone Anyway, yeah.
Let me show you. I think I do have a clip of this guy. Yeah, I do. Where is it? I want to show you a clip of this guy and some of the stuff he said because it started really making me think. Here we go.
Industries, because you're going to be able to engineer on the atomic level. You can actually engineer matter the same way you can engineer a building.
One more time.
Many new industries, because you're going to be able to engineer on the atomic level. You can actually engineer matter the same way you can engineer a building. You
know who that reminded me of when I watched that? It reminded me of you. You said
Remember
that to me.
The gravitational field equations? They speak to a new perspective on all physics. Why did Dr. John Brandenburg, when he heard superforce equals C to the 4 divided by big G, and he realized that if you use it as a scale operator, take it to the other side, it basically says it is the superforce acting on the local spatial temporal geometric structure, the very local space-time geometric structure that gives rise to energy density, hence generates matter, because that's what energy density is.
So if you manipulate that, then it sounds like theoretically what Randall Mills is saying could make sense, because now you're manipulating space-time itself. So n equals 1, what does that even mean anymore? Why not? Why can't you have fractionals of that? It seems rational to me. We just arbitrarily called it n equals 1 anyway, right? So if you're saying, well, now I'm going to change the physical structure of space-time, okay, well, now you can change what n equals 1 means. And if that's the case, so then I think, man, what I wanted to do, what I spent time last night, a lot actually, looking at is trying to understand if Randall Mills has ever discussed negative energy, or anything related to what you're talking about. Because isn't this what you're talking about when you're talking about the superforce? Is you're saying like, hey, and this is also related to Dr. Yu. Dr. Yu is saying that we don't need the other forces. Everything is magnetism. And I'm going, well, this is kind of like what Sal's saying. Where go ahead.
No, go ahead. But I'm saying everything is superforce. We don't
that's
need
what he's saying.
Else.
Is that
everything comes from this one. Let's call it for one of the best. The whole idea. I mean, what do we have? We have solids, we have liquids, we have gases, we have plasma, and let's call this fifth medium quintessence, which truly is the quantum vacuum. Okay. Well, it's quite possible that it's all about the superforce. Everything else stems from it. It's not only the force of unification, it's the mother of all forces.
So, and that's what I think Randall Mills is getting at as well. Because if that's true, then theoretically, we can engineer that. We can engineer anything, like Star Trek replicator style. Engineer anything you possibly want at the atomic level, because we have perfect control.
Mama gives birth. Mama gives birth.
Do you think that fusion has already been figured out?
Absolutely.
And what do you think the answer is? What do you think the secret sauce is?
You already know the answer.
I know, but I want to hear it from you. That's the point, Sal. If you don't say it, then it doesn't matter. Gravity? You think gravity is the answer?
Okay, I'm gonna draw it out of you. What is that one medium that acts as a point, or rather as a bridge, a transition between a gas and quintessence?
Yeah, plasma. And actually, so that speaks to something else that Randall Mills said that I want to ask you about. He said plasma acts as a perfect absorber and re-emitter of black body radiation. Do you agree with that, or what do you think the significance of that is?
It's a very strong statement. I would have to look into it further. And me answering a certain way would give the enemy ideas. So nah, that's okay.
Yeah, I thought that might be the answer. Yeah, plasma does seem, I mean, obviously to me, the answer why plasma is so crucial is that plasma can be a circuit because of the fact that it is this additional state of matter that's not a solid, not a liquid, but it kind of acts as both. It's like free electrons combined with ions in a mix contained by magnetic fields. So that would seem like it's the perfect thing, an amorphous blob of charge. But then the problem is, how dense can the energy get? How dense can it get? And I think this is where your theories come into play, where is the answer infinite or is there a limitation? What you tell me. That's
you have question. To remember that plasmas are usually neutral or quasi-neutral.
Okay.
The trick is to get it out of the neutral zone. Oh, the neutral zone. Remember the Romulans? Anyway, yeah. Good old Romulans. Where are they when you need them? Yeah.
Are the current fusion reactors trying to get it out of the neutral zone, or are they just trying to keep it in the neutral zone and heat it up?
EQ, brother, EQ. Won't go there.
Okay.
That's heavy stuff. Heavy stuff.
No problem. Okay, interesting. So let me ask another question. This one actually is from one of my biggest fans, supporters, and administrators, JK Philly fan. And this is actually related to, I think, the discussion you had with Dan as well. Is that, do you think that the Schwinger limit can be modified? Do you think that the Schwinger limit can come down? For example, if we consider this idea that space-time is not empty and that you can manipulate the vacuum, can you manipulate the Schwinger limit?
What do you think?
I think, of course, you can. I think, of course, you can, right? But wouldn't that mean that you could reduce
the energy? Don't think everything being at that Planck scale and certain things come into fruition rather than to being that may not have been so transparent before. There are ways. There are other ways than taking a third of the host of heaven to start a war. There are other ways to dethrone God, as bad as that sounds. Let me leave it at that.
Okay, well, let me ask. I mean, I'm just going to take that as a yes, of course, for sure. Definitely. I mean, just given the context, the physics context of the discussion that we've had here, everything else adds up to yes. Of course, you can change the Schwinger limit. Now, of course, the implications of why that's so huge are like you could make it so that it's easy to make a black hole, theoretically. Like, you know, I mean, that's just one example. You're basically saying you can make a Big Bang if you can just change the Schwinger limit. But this kind of speaks to something you and I have spoken to offline, which is this idea of, is a black hole going to dissipate before it's formed? And my theory, well, yeah, we're like, you know, is if you're just shooting energy beams, let's say like lasers, for example, and you're trying to produce a singularity, and at the same time, the vacuum is trying to correct that singular. It's trying to close in, right? So it's kind of like,
isn't that interesting though?
Yeah,
isn't that interesting? This idea of self-preservation. It's as if
self-organization.
Super intelligence doesn't like to have rips or cuts in its fabric.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm going to take it that far. You're free to interpret it however you want. But for me, it's more of like, when I go to the ocean or go to a body of water and I pull out a cup of water, what happens? It immediately seals back up again. It doesn't even look like, it's not like there's a divot in the water where I took the water out. And that's
yes,
how
but
I look
that's
at,
because there's water surrounding that hole that you made.
yes, exactly. And that's true of the universe too, right? The energy is everywhere. So if I pull the energy out of one point.
Why is everything connected? Because of the super force.
Yeah. And so that's
It's
where I would
all
agree.
about the force. This idea of divorcing stuff from the force is no good. The force is always with us.
Let me ask this. This is kind of on this same line then. If this is true, what's the answer to the double slit experiment? Why does the wave function break down?
I'd be fucked if I know. Not that. I told you, man. I have holes in my knowledge and stuff like that. Between you and I mean, the double slit. I mean, the whole idea of the observer having something to do with the outcome of the experiment has always fascinated me. I'll tell you the truth. But I'm more of an application guy.
Okay.
And as bad as it sounds, sometimes I want to weaponize everything, which is not a good thing. Because on one side, I am pro peace, but on the other, I would like the enemy to die, like right now. So what can I say? There's a dichotomy in me. You know, that's why we have, what? Is it the left hand, the little devil, the little angel on the right? Yeah. Sometimes I think they're fused together, my brain. No, I'm kidding.
Let me ask you something else, actually. Going back real quick to the Randall Mills thing and this idea of a lower energy state of the hydrogen atom. He calls it a hydrino. One of the claims that he makes is that where that energy band is related to the fine structure constant. 1 divided by 1/3.
I love the fine. Oh, you're touching on a very, oh my God, I love
I've been trying to figure out where the fine structure constant fits in all of this. The idea that it fits in on like where you figure out where the energy band might be is it's a fun one for me. So what do you think? Do you think there's merit to that idea? Do
me a huge favor. Do right now, take a calculator, do 1 divided by 137, and you'll get something like 0.007299, and then the thing decreases as if it's a wave, a fucking mathematical wave. I've never seen anything like that. It repeats itself, but it looks like a wave. It goes up and then it goes down directly. It's amazing. 1 divided by 137. It's a beautiful number.
I'm trying to figure out how
Look at that number. Isn't that something?
Yeah, for some reason.
Now remember, the whole thing comes down from that formalism, that mathematical formalism of Q squared divided by H bar C, where H bar is the reduced Planck constant. So this 1 divided by 137 is really an approximation. And look at that. Look at the pattern of that.
Like that?
Yes, forevermore. It's a transcendental
forevermore
number.
Repeats like this?
Yes. But what's really, it's cool. I took it to like
really
100,000 places just to see what the fuck's going on, because I was very intrigued by it. But yeah, it's insane. It's that really triggered me. And it's cool that it starts with 007.
Proof of 007 chat right here. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So wait, is that answer mean that yes, you do think there's merit to that idea, or no? I really have no idea.
I'm starting to think that the super intelligence is extremely fucking intelligent. It's engineered every fucking thing. Look at that number. You cannot tell me that number just came out of somebody.
Yeah, but what's the meaning of it? So are you saying, because like if this was the energy band, secret energy bands of the hydrogen atom,
find the meaning of the fine structure constant. That's why Feynman was so intrigued. He called it a magic number. Feynman was no fucking mental midget. It was one of the greatest we've ever had. Anyway.
So what do you think the significance is then of the fine structure constant?
Speaks directly to how the superforce couples with the space-time spatial temporal geometric structure. There's something there, and I believe it's been engineered. The fine structure constant is at the bottom of it all. It's like the key to the pyramids. You know that
doesn't seem random. Okay.
Pi. 3.1415 NASA. I never mind.
Let me ask, Casimir cavities. Ever hear of that term? Casimir cavities?
Yeah, sure.
So the idea is actually similar to what we've been talking about now, which is that if space-time bounces back, right? If there's an energy state below the bottom and it has this weird self-organizing property to it, then the Casimir cavity effect is actually a very simple one. It says, let's put something that slows things down. In this case, like a conductor, an insulator, and a conductor has these quantum effects. And then let's just have a cavity, an empty space. And the idea is like a trampoline. Like you're going to jump on the trampoline, pull a little energy out. Great. Take that energy out and then move it over to this empty space over here. And then it'll just level set itself out again. What do you think about that concept?
It's a good concept, way too complex to engineer. I like simple shit that gives.
That's complicated
to me.
Yeah,
I don't see it. I don't see how you materialize energy on the order of fucking 10 to the 25 joules. That's what I want to fucking produce. I want to make Teleportation. Look, if I would ever get to meet somebody, I would love to meet Edward Teller and tell him of this device I have in mind. If that man would just fucking doesn't need to do anything else except smile, that's more to me than fucking 3 Nobel Prizes conferred by some fucking monarch in Stockholm, Sweden. So,
you think Edward Teller knew
oh shit, bro?
Did he know about all this?
Teller was a super fucking genius. I think Oppenheimer felt like a little cerebral troglodyte in front of him. I don't think the two had much of a relationship, but I think Oppenheimer felt very, I wouldn't say in awe, but he certainly was in awe, but felt threatened by Teller. So anyway, yeah, I'm not going to go there. There's too much politics, and the physicists love Oppenheimer. I love Teller. Teller's the man.
Do you think there's some secret resonant frequency to tap in to this?
Not just because he had wonderful eyebrows. Kidding.
So this energy, one of the things I've wondered, is there some secret resonant frequency to tap into it? Or is it more of a depends on the type of engineering situation you're trying to do?
Just study that SciTech presentation. And study it some more. Look at it again. Before you think it's just words on paper, go back. It's amazing that certain things haven't come to light. But this is what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid you're the one who actually caught it, that several very high research Chinese teams found the paper.
Yeah. Oh.
And one of them was from the IEEE Institute, or rather Journal of Cybernetics.
I mean, I'm just saying, look,
what we're talking about.
If I was them, I would not be publicly referencing your papers because, like you said before about our adversaries, I think that's a really, really good way to shorten your life expectancy if you happen to be looking into this research as somebody aligned with an adversary of ours. So that's just my viewpoint because you don't seem super afraid by our adversaries. So,
brother, all men die. Not all men know how to live.
Wait, is that Gladiator? No, wait. That's one of my favorite quotes.
I thought that was me, but fuck me. I mean, what do I know? I'm filled with hubris. So
yeah. Well, let's ask this then, right? That's Braveheart. Braveheart. Okay, William Wallace. So this is something that I want to get your opinion on. Kind of now we can move away a little bit from the science, which is more of, it seems like everything's just kind of out there in the open. So what is it? Why are more people not figuring it out? You know, you've praised me a lot. I don't necessarily agree with all the praise, but sure, I appreciate it for sure. Because I agree.
I
The
think
more I
of you
look
as a
into
natural, bro. I am absolutely you got to understand there's certain people born in this world just because they don't go into a certain profession. It does not mean that they're not natural at something else. It's quite possible that you are natural at physics. And from what you've told, from the way that you've come up to speed, from the way that you've understood extremely complex ideas and able to render them in simplified form so that a child can understand, that's what true physicists should do. I don't want someone to give me the bracket fucking Dirac equation for blah, blah, blah. You know, what the fuck that? Can I engineer it? Can I do something with it? Can I put it up the enemy's ass? You see what I'm saying? Anyway.
Well, so then the question is this, though, right? Is that, okay, somebody like me can figure it out. I'm admittedly just a healthcare IT professional. What is going on with the world? Why is this not getting figured out way before? Why are people saying that? Why are there people that have credentials that are reviewing your patents and saying that they think it's misinformation being put out by the Navy to confuse our adversaries or what, all this other shit? Like, explain it to me in terms of why it has not come out. Why is somebody not taking this science and made a free energy device out of it and made $1 trillion right now? What's your, and of course, you know, this is just your opinion. So what is your thoughts on all that and why that's the case?
It's one thing I like about Ross Goldhart, even though sometimes I think he stabbed me in the back, but that's for another time, is that the title of his book, Hidden in Plain Sight. Sometimes you refuse to fucking see what's right in front of you. Because you have certain notions that if discarded or worked against would bring the whole fucking foundation upon you.
Okay.
Change, even though a lot of us say is for the better, is not so. We're creatures of comfort, brother. We always will be.
Why do you think more engineers don't speak out that know about the science? Like, what about other people you work with? Surely you must work with other people that think similarly to you do. Why do they not speak out?
Some of them don't even know the shit's going on in the background. Like, they don't know my patents. They don't know the work I've done. Then, you know, I mean, why would you Google something about your colleague?
Yeah, but I mean,
not a lot of people do that. You know?
I mean, more like you're working on secret stuff that you're like, hey, this defies the laws of physics, but I'm working on it. It's real. There's got to be more people like that out there, given this science is legit. Why do you think those people choose to stay silent?
It's a question of national security. So they've signed. Again, man, government people, and I'll tell you, again, my imploration to Mr. Musk, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I know he said certain things about empathy. I don't believe he truly believes that in his heart of hearts. I think the man is quite emotional. Sentimental, actually. Now, every one of the government, all my brothers and sisters in government are capable of this kind of thinking. And that's why I asked Mr. Musk not to fire us anymore and to rescind all the firings, just bring everyone back. We fulfill a war. We fulfill a role that will one day come very useful in war, but that's beside the point.
Have you seen? Did you watch my live streams or anything about?
Don't cut off your right hand.
Oh,
don't cut off your right hand, just to make the left one feel better. That's all I'm saying.
Did you see my post about this device that can theoretically extract energy from the rotation of the Earth?
Wow. No, I haven't seen that. Send it to me.
I'm curious of your opinion on that as well. So it's Dr. Out of Princeton. I'm sorry, I'm looking back through my post to find it here. I wanted to give him credit on here. Can't find it right now yet, though, at the moment. So, but anyway, this doctor out of Princeton basically found like a cylinder that if you align it against orthogonally against the magnetic field of the Earth, that because of its right material property, it'll actually generate a voltage. And even though it's really small as well, do you think there might be merit to an idea like that, generating energy from the rotational of the Earth?
I can think of an analogy in fluid mechanics. It's called the Magnus effect, Magnus. A cylinder rotating can actually generate lift. They've tried it to actually put it on a yacht and use it as a sail in case the wind dies down. It's a very interesting idea.
Wow. Yeah, it's Chris Chiba. I just saw.
But this, what you described, would be the electromagnetic version of it, analogy of it, rather. So yeah,
and he tested it. They had the theory in 2016, and it got ignored, like it always did. And so, just a month ago, 2 months ago, their paper got published, and they did the experiment with it, and they showed that if they change the alignment, if they change it 90 degrees, it produces zero voltage. If they change it 180 degrees, it produces negative voltage. And then 270 degrees, zero again, which I thought was really compelling. So Chris Chiba at Princeton University did this. Now, the reason why I brought it up is that people were saying, oh, well, it's producing like no energy, like very, very little. Kind of to your point about the Casimir cavity, same idea. It's producing very little. But the counter to that is that those are just, I mean, as an engineer, those are just to show proof of concept. That's not to produce.
I have an idea.
Go ahead.
Depending on certain frequencies, what if it's producing little energy because most of it is in the so-called fifth dimension? What if? Just a hypothetical thrown out there. Be interesting. There's something that's going on, brother. There's something just weird about our physics.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think, I don't know, maybe something is built within us to keep us from believing the unimaginable, to sort of put a veil over our eyes, over our thoughts, to hide the reality of things. Maybe I'm just wrong.
No, you're right. But here's the thing. So here's the answer, though. It's like, how do you make it more energy? The answer is you scale it down. Like, to your point, like, how do you interact with that vacuum energy? You get smaller, because it turns out, and this is what Chiba said in his paper, I don't think a lot of people actually read the paper, is that if you scale it down, the actual energy gain doesn't actually decrease. So just due to the fact that as you scale down, you're interacting more strongly with the energy. So you would scale it down, and then you would build it into like a microchip situation. So instead of stacking a million of these huge things side by side, you'd scale it down into a microchip. Then they get stacked up. Then you build it into an array that can also amplify it. Now you've got an energy chip where, I don't know how much energy it produces, but there's two ways of looking at it. One, where it's like you're trying to produce this huge bang, and that for sure, I feel like you probably have to use plasma based on what I've learned and what you've told me. But then there's this also idea of like, if I'm just trying to power my phone, I don't need a huge bang. I just need like some small, consistent voltage. So maybe something like that would have merit. I don't know.
Awesome. What do you think about photonics? This whole idea of photonic computing, this whole idea of going away from electrons. I love it. This idea of using, of course, you need high intensity lasers. You need, not necessarily femtosecond, but close.
But yeah, big lasers. Yeah, I love lasers, of course. And
not necessarily big, just powerful.
There's a lot more questions, but we're kind of running out of time. So I was thinking maybe I'm gonna go through some of the super chats here. Just want to thank the super chats. Thank you, Stein, for this donation. Appreciate you. War Ranch LLC, thank you very much. Yahtzee, yeah, been an awesome conversation. Tracy Scott, thank you very much. Help to get Sal to Congress. Appreciate it. Thank you, Violinian. Appreciate it. John Booz, thank you very much. Sal, your gravitons have a mass of about 10 to the minus 84 kilograms each. I don't know if that's right. You condense them, please. Offline conversation. Werner von Braun and our father, an Apollo launch controller, knew the truth. 10 to the 44 newtons of max Q. So, yeah. You like that comment? Any response to this comment?
Interesting.
Okay.
Smart guy.
Interesting. Robert, thank you very much for that donation. Appreciate you. DD London, the fun to get Sal some new blinds. No, I think it's looking pretty good. We might just need to get him a new camera, though, in the future, maybe a new headset. We'll work on that for the next one, guys. And then lastly, Gowdy says, how would you use a box of monoatomic gold or other precious metals?
Ooh, monoatomic gold speaks to the Ark of the Covenant. Oh, my goodness.
What do you think about...
Quite a weapon.
Yeah, what do you think about scarcity in general, though? If you can print things out of the vacuum, then doesn't that mean that gold's going to become useless? Diamonds become useless? What do you think about that?
Nah, gold would never become useless. Otherwise, the Anunnaki would have never created us. It's a foreign, all different.
Well, never then, mind. What do you think of the socioeconomic impacts of this technology? I mean, we're kind of, it's not necessarily free energy technology that you're speaking to here, but you're speaking to like the ability to tap into energy in a way that is essentially free. So what are you concerned about what that would happen?
If we figure how to make this whole work,
yeah.
If we figure how to have a viable societal interaction without the problems that we're currently facing, while all these technology have been being brought forth into civilization's use, that means we have achieved quite possibly the unachievable. I think civilizations break down for a reason.
Okay.
Sometimes it's for the best.
Are you saying that
but it's good to survive? It's good to survive. Survival is a good thing, but at what price? See, again, at what price?
So, are you saying that we kind of have to reveal this technology because, it's just going to come anyway and whoever lives, lives? Sorry to be morbid, but is that what you're saying?
I think the technology will be revealed on its own, but I think we're going to have to go for a lot of problems before.
I'm going to commit
one cardinal sin. A lot of darkness before the light comes out.
How long do you think we've got to wait for mass acceptance of the science that we've been discussing here on this podcast today? How long? Ballpark.
I really don't know, brother. It's quite possible. Depending if, for example, groups of individuals of like mind that are not quote unquote anarchist in nature, so they don't want the usurpation of governments, the decline of civilization, whatnot. They actually are pro-humanism, they're pro-humanitarian. If such groups exist, it's quite possible that they will bring this technology somehow into fruition.
So you think it could happen quickly, or it could happen and take a long time?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Sal, I'll say this has been an awesome conversation. I got through a lot of the questions that I wanted to ask. Do you, and I just want to just also say thank you so much for talking to me. I feel like I love the relationship we have. I like that you're not afraid.
We do have a relationship. I remember one time at a pod, I was like, I can't believe he stated that. One time at a pod, you said something like, I think he's my friend. I'm like, what the fuck, man? You know I'm your friend. Come on. I mean,
well, I'll be honest, brother. Like,
I'm there.
I don't go easy on you, though. I don't go easy. You come on here and
no,
I'll be honest.
No, you don't. Because that's your role as an investigative journalist. Yeah. Just because you don't have a card that says investigative journalist Ashton Forbes does not mean that you are not one. As a matter of fact, I believe that when these videos are proved correct, or rather the technology that comes from them is proven correct, which would indicate that they are correct, you should be actually given a Nobel, possibly a Pulitzer Prize, because you said you don't want the Nobel.
Nah.
So
I'll let you have the Nobel. I'll let the scientists have the Nobel prizes. You know, I just want the Pulitzer Prize.
I would refuse it. No fucking royal is gonna hand me a piece of paper and tell me that I was right.
No, that's how it works in this world.
What I would want is every one of your followers to send me a card saying, "Damn, you were right," or something of that nature. I would take. Oh my God, I would cover walls with those postcards. That would mean more to me than a fucking Nobel Prize. What's that?
Yeah. Yeah, me too. So I guess somebody else had a last question here too. They're saying, thank you, Ardo, for the donation. Why all the continuous mass controlling and the spoon feeding of technology? If you look at it from the perspective of we have this advanced technology, this science is out there, and it's maybe not well accepted. Why everything that's going on? Why all this? Any thoughts?
There must be a reason. This trickle down disclosure. It's very. On one part, it seems almost. Again, this whole idea of. What did I call it? I even forgot what I called it. Something constipation, immaculate constipation.
Immaculate constipation. Yeah.
I think that sums it all up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mess.
If you're gonna shit.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say like
get
why
off the fucking plot.
My thought is, well, there must be a dark reason for it. You know, is that they're letting the technology come out, but it's like an acceptance thing. Like you're slowly accepting it in the same way where people can now accept this conversation, but this is our third conversation that we've had where we've been talking about this. And now it just seems normal. And we're talking about some pretty crazy stuff here, faster than light travel, etc. So maybe there's an aspect of getting people used to it, giving the technology to us at a rate at which we can absorb. Maybe just a thought. Sal, any last thoughts, shout outs? You want to shout out anybody else any of your buddies in the Navy? You know, you're famous now. Look at you.
Nah, please. Come on, man. You're famous. You're the one with the followers. I'm just on your Heart Trust the Truth podcast. I'm the one who feels honored. I am. I'm truly honored, brother. One day you're going to be a huge dude. And when you're like above Rogan and all that shit, don't forget your little friend over here. Anyway, so look. I applaud you. I applaud Dave Rossi. I applaud all our guys, alien scientists, Tim Ventura, Kurt J. Mongol, even though he isn't. Anyway, you know, it is what it is. It could be the Canada thing, you know. We love Canada.
And Jesse Michaels had you on. That was a great interview as well with Jesse Michaels. I mean.
Oh, Jesse Michaels. Smart guy. Very intelligent dude. So. Yeah. And let's not forget his buddy over there that goes by, God, I forgot. I'm not going to say his name. I know his real name, but, you know, his sidekick.
Peter Thiel? Eric Weinstein?
Oh, no. Peter Thiel is he's one of the
one
guys,
last
baby.
Yeah. If you could talk to one scientist of your choice and they couldn't refuse, who would you want to, that's still alive? Who would you want to talk to?
Shit. I was going to say Teller.
Yeah, I knew. That's what I'd say. This still alive. Who?
But can we engineer that reverse temporal, the chamber? Somehow make it all possible? That'd be so cool.
I'm working on it. Trying to figure it out.
I've always wanted to know if mine are bigger than his. No. Anyway. Yeah. I would say there. I've always wanted to ask Juan Maldacena why he never backed up my paper for archive. I mean, yeah, it was off the deep end and all that shit. It was quite crackpotish. But man, a guy that works for the Institute of Advanced Study at Princeton, a man that's come up with ADS equals CFT that made Lenny Susskind cry in his sleep, put it that way. I mean, and Lenny Susskind is no fucking mental midget either. So, I mean, a guy like that, I mean, I really thought that it wouldn't have not taken a lot. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I had a better conversation. I had a better conversation with what's his name? Ketele, Wolfgang Ketele, Nobel Prize winner for Bose-Einstein condensate. BC, baby. Wow. Good guy. Good guy.
Well, if Juan Maldacina's out there and he wants to have a chat, I think that would be an amazing conversation. I'd love to set it up. I'd actually love to talk to him as well. He's one of the proponents, I guess you could say, of ER equals EPR with Leonard Susskind.
Yes,
and
sir.
one of the first papers I read a couple years ago on
wormholes.
Yeah, humanly traversable. I remember. I read his and I was like, wait, they're humanly traversable? Wow.
He is an amazing mind. It really is, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Okay. Well, Sal, thank you very much, sir. Let's do it again in the future, brother.
I'm your man, anytime, any place, and always my buddy. All right, brother. Take care. Bye.
Hey, Sal. Thank you, everybody who is a hard truth aficionado, MH370X. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Peace out, everybody. Later.